If you're going to have a crew, one of them fools got to know he going to jail. We'll get him out.
We'll get him out.
We'll get him out. Well, one of those, I don't know if one of those fools is in jail. Hopefully. I truly am hoping that El Capitan is just a little tired this week. And maybe
you never know, man. Yeah, but listen, I'll talk to my people and they'll let us know. They'll let us know if he's in there or not.
Yeah, we'll get him out. Well, he's not with us, so we can only honor him by using the rundown that we were given. It kind of begins in a somber place, and I say that because I don't know what the first thing actually meant. Something about Canada getting a cup. I did made me check the NHL standings. Montreal apparently is like, one of the four, or I guess one of the three teams left, because I think Vegas already is in the finals now, and it's likely to be Vegas versus Hurricanes again, I believe. Which, I know we're not the hockey guys in any way, shape, or form. Okay, it's 2-1. 2-1 Carolina leads the Montreal Canadiens. And I don't think that's what he meant, but, maybe he really has a lot of faith in the Montreal Canadiens to finally break the curse for the Canadian world and win a cup.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything else that would warrant that, because there's not a Canadian team in basketball right now that's relevant since the Raptors got bounced out.
This is to Lord Stanley's Cup, so they haven't won Lord Stanley's Cup, and I don't even remember who was the last one that did it. But obviously, if you're Canada, this would be like if the NFL was worldwide and no one had won a championship in the States in however long,
Yeah.
It just it's very funny and interesting that it keeps happening this way. And it's even funnier that now we're in like this like lockstep where I'm pretty sure it's just been Carolina versus Vegas like 3 out of the last 4 times or something like that. I have internet. I have ways to check this, but I'm just going to pretend like I don't. And I'm pretty sure at least last year that was what it was. And I feel confident there was at least one more time prior to last year that we were talking Vegas Golden Knights versus Carolina Hurricanes. And now I know Carolina Hurricanes better because Portland guy has now bought into the NBA and gone cheapo mode pretty famously. So
yeah, and I'm like, dude, you can't run an NBA team the same way you can run an NHL team. Just different money, different expectations.
You get the private equity aspect of this too, because like even the Lakers just announced some layoffs today, and everyone's excited about their new money, but then don't forget it. Either way, Canada gets a cup, but we don't know why. So we're going to move into somber news, and Kyle Busch passing away. That's a pretty crazy one, actually, for me too, because I'm a white guy from Texas. Might know a thing or two about NASCAR racing. Not a lot, but a little bit, especially growing up. And like, it's funny enough, I was just talking to family who, more traditional Southern folk, enjoy NASCAR more than I have in my lifetime. I was joking about how Kyle Busch, I don't know his politics. Like maybe he was a little lefty, I don't know, but maybe he was fucking right as hell, I don't know. But I always cracked up at how mad he made white people. You know what I mean? Like growing up, I always could tell like certain white people could just get really angsty about things quicker than others, right? And I didn't really understand it. He was just like the bad boy of NASCAR. And I'm like, isn't that kind of what you want in NASCAR? But I don't know. People did not take kindly to him. And I think there was also just a lot of love for Dale Jr. And Kyle Busch was like just winning all the time, and Dale Jr. wasn't winning as much. So I think there was some of that. And obviously the dad dying was a big part of how that works out. But it was just one of those things where I found it so amusing, endlessly amusing at how just, it was like he was a wrestling heel. Like, I don't even know if there's a great wrestling heel comp that's perfect, but he played a perfect wrestling heel to NASCAR for as long as I knew it growing up. And then obviously, I'm sure he kept that reputation. I think people got a little softer on him, and I think it kind of ended up like Kobe, where people ended up being more nostalgic of him than, thinking about, Kobe's career. Dude played probably 18 years as being somebody most people just thought was a fucking asshole. But then the last two, everyone loved him to death because they were nostalgic for it all. And he was old and he was just playing on a shit team. So I don't know. I think there was some of that. Either way, very tragic loss. Pneumonia, I believe, extreme pneumonia, which is really, really, really unfortunate. I don't know really the details on that, but very unexpected. Still racing, I believe. I think he was at the tail end of it, but I think he was still racing. I mean, those dudes race for a while. They'll race till 50 opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like not that I know anything about like actually being behind those types of cars, but I imagine the toll that it takes on you physically isn't the same as your traditional contact sport. So there's way more longevity, right?
I would say I think it changes and it's different. I cracked myself up when my dad and I. This is a while back now, but we did the Mario Andretti driving experience at TMS, and this is different than NASCAR. This is basically like a go-kart version of an Indy car. Still went pretty fast. I think I went 190 miles an hour or something like that around the track. And basically, you just get to drive your own car. You have spotters and everything. And it cracked me up because, my dad has been this racing guy his whole life. Drove fast cars whenever he was a kid, all that stupid shit, right? We get out there. I'm kind of dumb fuck about cars. I don't really care. Like, I have one. I drive them. They're fun, I guess. I'm just doing this mostly. It's a fun experience. And he ends up just going so slow. Like, we're cracking up at how slow my dad is driving on this track. Like, he doesn't even have to go slow. And then I just get out there and just start gunning it. And then I get back. I'm like, I didn't even hear what the spotter said. I just kind of YOLO'd and got up on the track and just floored it. And then just over. And so I don't know, man. Maybe there is something about getting older that does make you a little more nervous to drive a motor vehicle 200 miles an hour. And I'm pretty sure this was like me pre-25 too, so my brain's not even fully cooked. So of course my dumb ass was like, pedal to the metal, baby. So I think maybe that has a window there, but I don't know. Either way, rest in peace to Kyle Busch, and please stop doing the awkward edits of the M&M's crying. It's getting weird. Darren Rovell specifically. Please let this man. Please don't use AI, especially for this purpose. Like, you can use AI for other purposes. We're easing the rules on AI, but I think we have to draw a line at making the M&Ms cry as a way to pay homage to someone who just lost their life. I just think maybe that's where we draw.
There's a certain for sure. That there is just something about these, like, mid-40s journalists that just it makes me scratch my head, man.
If it came from anyone else from Rovell, I'd be more concerned, But from Rovell, I'm like, well, this is you, so it's fine. This doesn't change anything. Moving into the next thing, Patrick did not have the Rangers on the rundown. I respect that a lot. I am also pretty much going to just say that and move on with Texas Rangers at this point. Very unfortunate. Actually, let's nostalgia bait real quick with the GIF in the corner. It could all be so simple.
Now, listen, I will say one thing. They had a good start to yesterday's game, and then it got dicey because, of course, it got dicey. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I think they got off to
I think you actually can sum up what it feels like to be a Rangers fan in the fact that I think they score 8 in the first inning and then win 10-8 in the final score.
10-7.
Yeah, fuck them, dude. This is exactly, and I pay a subscription fee to watch these assholes, and now I just can't even stomach it. Hope for the best, I guess. There's still 7,000 games left to be played, so I suppose there's hope. I suppose we can talk about trade deadlines. I know Walcott's already been sidelined for the season, so I can't even get started on that bullshit. I just get a whole season where I don't even get access to one of my favorite bits. This is bullshit. Whatever. Now I think we just have to move into the foosball. What do I use again? Oh yeah, Antonio Brown, absolutely 100% intentionally doing this in retrospect.
It's one of the coolest highlights in the NFL history, man. Let's be
probably
real.
My favorite moment in NFL history, if I'm being honest. Well, Beastquake might actually still be one because I watched Beastquake live, and I think that's hard to replicate that. But this one, yeah,
it's possible.
And by live, I mean on TV. It was definitely not in Seattle that day. That would definitely be a different experience. I'd probably be huffing paint and doing speed to try to catch the high of seeing that live.
To be a Seahawks fan in the stadium that day, man. But yeah, let's get into it, right? All right. So, on the rundown, I originally wrote down what's the deal with Mississippi quarterbacks having their dicks leaked out on the internet, but really we're gonna extend that now to SEC adjacent quarterbacks. So
the position now we're just looking at, is this an isolated incident within the quarterback position? This is a decision-making position. This is actually a critical evaluation metric.
100%. Like, I'm going to need GMs all over the NFL to start asking their QBs, would they ever put themselves in a position where their dick is in front of a camera, and is there open access to the internet connected to this camera, i.e. a cell phone or a setup like this of some sort? The reason why, dear audience, and I was unaware of this, I don't know how this slipped past me, because this feels like a messy story that's right up my alley. Will Levis, for those of you who don't know, and to be honest, why would you care about a backup quarterback who has given us some of the best lowlights in modern, recent NFL history?
That in itself is a reason to care about Will Levis, but you're right. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much it. But his personal life really shouldn't be of anybody's, interest until now. If you're a sick freak, because this man apparently has spent exorbitant amount of money, basically hiding a leaked sex tape. I didn't know this man had a sex tape out, and NFL Twitter may not be as funny as NBA Twitter, but it has its moments. All right, it has its moments. Some people on the NFL Twitter,
because the players are also just incredibly. Just if they were under the same microscope, all of them down the entire roster as the players are in the NBA, yeah, I think we would have incredible content. It would not look great on the
NFL. No, not at all. But I think the one thing is, because there's so many more players too, it's easier to get lost, right? As long as you are not a prominent member of the roster, you can kind of be incognito. But being the former starting quarterback of the team, it's hard to do so. And listen, this man apparently spent a ton of money. He got hacked, according to his mother, which that's so funny that his mom is front and center about his sex tape.
But if you're a public figure, you're almost dumb not to go a little extra length just to make sure your privacy is your privacy.
Exactly. But yeah, apparently an Eastern European group hacked his personal device that showed him getting top, if you will.
The classic Jamal
Murray.
And
the funny, for sure. Now, the thing about this video that the internet has been saying in a very funny way is that this is less of a sex tape and more of a sex vine, if you will. So take with that as make of that what you will. If you remember Vine, you remember how short those videos were. So yeah. So anyway, just quarterbacks everywhere. Please keep it in your pants.
this is a difficult metric here because we have both of the prime examples you were mentioning or hinting at was a Hall of Famer, locked and loaded Hall of Famer by the time it happens, right? By the time we get his.
Yeah.
The other one, yet to start his, I would say like 60% chance Hall of Fame career at this point for Mr. Prescott. Probably got to get them numbers up more, but it's probably looking good if he stays healthy.
If he doesn't get a ring, then he's definitely going to have to do it through the Dan Marino way of stat padding, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. This isn't the moment I want to talk about those chances in this world, but I do feel like if I'm Dak, I'm probably banking on the stats.
Yeah, I mean that goes for any quarterback any prominent quarterback that doesn't win a ring because there's only so many people who can.
You got to put them numbers up. You got to put them numbers up big time.
And if you don't have those numbers, you got to find
I'm just saying, this gives us a very interesting metric here because, we're looking at two potential Hall of Famers, but, both of them come from a different spectrum. And then Will Levis, we'll be kind of Will Levis. We don't feel like his chances are above 1% at the Hall of Fame at this moment. So if that was to change, this could bring new life to the metric, is what I'm saying. So be on watch for Will Levis stock this season, just in case.
Listen, just in case, but listen, Will Levis, if you're watching this, listen, bud, ain't no shame in the game that your career as a starter was very short. It was longer than your tape, and you need to you have access to make yourself have a long career in whatever field you want to do, NFL or the adult film industry. And listen, you have a nice pivot. You have a pivot in case you flame out of the league. Statistics say that you will flame out of the league, right? Just pure statistics. This could be the start of your launching point. I'm just saying, okay? You might as well do it the old ethical way where you are in control of the content you release. But also control your release. And I'm not talking about your throwing.
It also feels like there is that was beautiful. I have to give you that.
Thank you.
There does feel like there was already a lot of potential grift in his future. This maybe helps make the decision a little bit easier. Like, it already kind of felt like we could turn a point in the USA at any moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think there was something going down with I believe there is a man running the president of the United States, or that is the president of the United States. It's quite a controversial character. I don't know if you've heard of him yet. There's some controversy, but ultimately Giants quarterback Jackson Dart goes to introduce the man at I think was it a New York rally? Give me the details on this.
All right. I mean, it was typical rally that's typical rally that the current president likes to hold for himself.
And this is similar to like a pep rally, a Klan rally. What are we talking?
His usual.
I'm not familiar with this character yet.
All right, so this guy, he likes to talk in front of people, just babble on about himself, about the state of the world, through his lens, right? And usually it just spins around into more babble about himself and the occasional homoerotic compliment that he pays to somebody with great legs. A man with great legs, man with great arms. He really does like to compliment the male anatomy from time to time.
Who doesn't?
So how fitting that an athlete be the one to introduce him, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, who first letter starts with a J, his number starts with a 6. Man, a lot of people in that realm love that. They sure do love them some J6. So yeah, this was very interesting. You typically don't see active football players really make a hard stance like this
Nobody
What's
else.
up?
He's the first. He's the first guy. He's the first guy. I mean, I know Saquon kind of had an extra, like
Yeah. So
they had like an
so,
extra night
like,
out together once.
yeah, but like you don't really see them at like an event, like in a formal
Yeah, he
setting
was already supposed
where
to be
you
there
are.
for the championship thing.
Yeah, whereas Saquon is just he can say, I'm visiting the White House.
No active player has introduced him at a rally yet.
Not that I'm aware of. Like you definitely have athletes who have made their political stance
I know, like
very much
because I think like
aware,
Herschel,
but they don't.
Favre, Mickelson. Who else has been like? I can think of some, but I guess Mickelson kind of counts.
Maybe no active NFL player. Perhaps is a better way of putting it.
Imagine if an NBA player did it. That'd be funnier.
Oh man, I mean you got like a couple. What's his name? Solomon Hill or whatever his name was. The dude who retired came back.
Solomon Hill was the guy who everyone blames for taking LeBron's best years away from him, which is a funny thing to say about LeBron's career.
Whoever that guy that I think he played for Florida State, went to the Magic.
No, Johnny Isaac. Johnny Isaac.
Is that the guy? Okay.
Yeah, I think the Mavs are going to try to trade, to bring him in to take on his salary, and it'll be great because they'll get to take like a pick or an asset with it, and he just doesn't play. They pay out the rest of his contract, and he actually interns with TD Jakes. So that's
not even intern with the Addisons. Maybe even with the Addisons.
It's a good relationship to build, but ultimately TD Jakes, he's going to go up there. I'm just saying, you have Watermark just sitting there already. Johnny Isaac, a big name. I'm just saying, who knows? Hire me as your agent.
Jackson Dart did the thing where introduced him. It's no surprise. Jackson Dart, I think, played at Ole Miss. I think he is from the South himself.
He is the Barstool stereotype. That's why we've enjoyed so much of him and Scatavo being with the Giants, because it almost feels a little fitting for them to do that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, here's the thing, though. He did get called out by one of his teammates for doing this, and then that created in its own way, there was a huge reaction to Abdul Carter, essentially just voicing his displeasure with his starting quarterback.
Carter was like, "No, tell me this is a deep fake or something like that."
He's like, "Tell me this is AI or something like that." And then, of course, that whole right-wing side of the media definitely flipped out on Abdul Carter because, irony is not a thing that really clicks with them, right? It doesn't exist in their mind. They can't comprehend their reaction is very ironic.
They try.
Because they try, but should have been flipped, should have been Abdul Carter introducing a president who was from the Democratic Party, and Jackson Dart reacted like this. Let me tell you, the reaction would have been a little bit different. So anyway,
it's just very funny because, like, I think that's like we joke about it a lot with the offensive linemen now, right? So I get it, but I think that there was one content creator that I don't know who he is. I've seen him go viral in a couple of things, but he basically was like, there's nothing to this. So his name was spelled with an X. What were we expecting here? Of course, like this is a non-issue. This is a non-story. This is on us for having any other expectation. Yeah, I feel like that's actually the right way to look at this. Now, if you're his teammate, I definitely understand where you might feel a little differently. I personally am just not surprised in the slightest bit here. But again, critical race theory. If you don't teach critical issues, you can't critically think. You can't break down defenses, guys. Look, do you want to defeat woke or do you want to defeat the coverages? Okay. You have to understand you can't have it both ways.
That's right. Now, if it makes people feel better, and it sure will make me feel better, Jackson Dart, this is probably the only time he'll be able to actually share a stage with the current president, because the Giants ain't winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. All right, that's a dumpster fire. The way that he plays, he's going to get himself absolutely killed. and his brain turned to mush. His running back's already playing that type of way and already got hurt. So, listen, Giants fans, if you're upset with your QB doing this, because, a lot of Giants fans in NYC, they're definitely not pulling for all orange man over there. Hey, it's just a matter of time before shit goes south with your QB anyway. It's just written in the stars for your franchise. Anyway, let's move on, shall we, to a little bit more actual real news. This one, not really anything to laugh at all. So, Josh Jacobs arrested, or rather, he turned himself into the police for domestic violence. No other way of putting this. So what we got here is, I believe on yesterday, May 26th, he was arrested 3 days after an alleged domestic disturbance. The Herbert Lawrence Police Department says so. He was referred on potential charges of felony strangulation and suffocation and 4 misdemeanors, all related to domestic abuse. Now, the district attorney's office has said that the investigation remains open and ongoing. So, it's tough to know exactly what this means for Josh Jacobs going forward. He is a 28-year-old Pro Bowl running back. Now, he did turn himself in.
You already said the part that matters the most for these people, Yeah,
the NFL, as for the NFL, they're like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's sad, but it's like the NFL is and I'm not saying the NBA is any better because they've done a kind of piss poor job of this too. But the NFL, I mean, arguably started this precedent in sports of just kind of accepting this norm, like it's just very routine. We go through, if you put the major 4 leagues together, I mean, how many cases a year? And it's not just it's to the point where they just try to like play it off as like a crime statistic that's just it's just going to happen. And I suppose with some statistics maybe you can get to that level, but I do feel like ultimately we've seen a lot of punishments handed out for this kind of stuff, but we've never really felt like any significant reason to believe culture is changed in any direction that would slow this down realistically. And it's kind of why like it's just there's a lot of football guy things that I find frustrating because they sort of exist just to keep the Neanderthals, and it kind of takes away from what could be a very cerebral game, even though it does literally fuck with your cerebral your ability, But ultimately, I just feel like the overemphasis on the masculine, on the grit and grind, on just the football guy mentality, it usually turns into these kinds of people who just are more likely, in my opinion, to commit these kinds of acts, and it's very frustrating. And obviously, there's a whole aspect to playing the running back position where you almost certainly need to be more. More people need to be more responsible for your own particular mental ability to think and do anything, drive anything. And I mean, that's crazy to talk about for 28-year-olds, but that is the reality of playing that position at that high of a level. We're talking about Jacobs was, where was he at college? He was a big player at college, right?
I believe in Bama. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking about one of the Bama running back staples, like, so you're someone who's been playing high level football probably your whole life. Like the highest level you can at your age play at, you've probably done it for this particular person. So it's obviously not an excuse. It's just one of those things where it's frustrating. It's the school shooter of sports, is these DV cases. And I do want to extend it to sports because I don't want to paint the picture like it's just the NFL. I just think it sets the precedent for the rest of it.
Yeah. Now, to talk a little bit more about what could happen, right? Josh Jacobs, facing charges, because I don't believe the charges have been filed yet, if I'm not mistaken. But should they be filed, right? That strangulation charge is a felony. and it carries a penalty. I believe in Wisconsin, a first-time offense is punishable by up to 6 years in prison. So
I find it more interesting that he'll be
not good.
Potentially prosecuted by a much smaller jurisdiction too, right? Like just, I mean, assuming that this is property
Wisconsin
that's
doesn't
close
have
to Green Bay, where he played for however long he was a player there.
Yeah.
So either way, I mean,
yeah.
I think
so this is a.
He's not a free agent. He's still with the Raiders, right?
No. Oh, Packers, and he does have 2 years on his deal.
Now he's
still
with the
remaining.
Packers. He was a Raider.
We'll see what. He was a Raider for a while. I believe last year was his second year with the Packers.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So we're going to see what ultimately comes of this, right? Because should these charges be filed, then you should expect the league to kind of make their move. And you will also see the Packers make their move, because right now the Packers, for anybody who cares about the football side of this, right? They have a very thin depth chart at running back. It's essentially all Josh Jacobs, and then I believe their top backup is a guy named Emmanuel Wilson, who they signed from the Seahawks in March. So not good, not very good.
Well, they don't have to compete with Steven Jones in the post-free agency market, this year.
No, yeah, for sure. They'll have to compete with somebody in the trade markets, perhaps. But we'll see if that's what ends up happening with Josh Jacobs going forward. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the Mr. Moneybags, Matthew Stafford. Listen, I understand why he's getting all this money. He's from Highland Park. For people who don't know, okay, Highland Park's a lot of old money. All right, he's from old money, I'm assuming.
Well, even if he's not from old money, the fam was doing all right. The fam's
doing all right, and now they're doing even better, because he just got a 1-year, $55 million extension from the Rams. This kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? You want to appease
him to this season, or they already had him on contract for this season, and that's an option for him to play next year, or not next year.
I believe this was an extension for next season, right?
Well, so I guess this is. We are officially now in the 26th NFL season.
That's right. So Stafford was scheduled to make $40 million this season, right? So of the $55 million extension, $5 million is a roster bonus that's fully guaranteed at signing. The remaining $50 million becomes guaranteed at the start of next league year. So they essentially have them locked up for this season and next season, which kind of tracks if you consider that they're, that the trajectory of Ty Simpson, he's going to need some time to sit and learn from Matthew Stafford, right? So this essentially guarantees that Matthew Stafford doesn't have to worry about his starting gig anytime soon, and that Ty Simpson will have some time to learn and develop behind the guy. And yeah, you want to protect your starting QB's ego, even though I feel like you don't need to for a guy who's guaranteed Hall of Famer, has a Super Bowl. You just pay him a shit ton of money. That fixes a lot of athletes' problems, really. So
very true. Well, interesting. I'm glad Stafford didn't call it a career, though. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. No,
till the wheels fall off. So your head sticks to the concrete like Favre, dude. Until they wheel you out of that bitch.
And listen, all the news reporting coming from Rams camp last year about his back injury, they made it seem like this guy was at any moment just gonna call it kaput. It's over. It's done.
Which is kind of where he's at. I mean, it's kind of where he's at.
I mean, he took so much punishment early on in his career, and now it's obviously affecting him now in these stages. But he's still playing at a high level. The Rams are still in Super Bowl contention, so it makes sense that the Rams are, they're going all in as much as they can, despite the fact that, drafting a QB in the first round is not really going all in. But, paying your starting quarterback like this, yeah, for sure. Going all in on that. And I think that about covers it. We will talk next week, y'all, about
Sorry,
the
we
head
have
coach fight club.
got to postpone it again. You know, it is what it
Yeah,
is.
look, it is what it is. Listen, I want to do this as a trio. We are a trio.
We've
It just
continued
so
our
happens
streak
that
for way longer than we anticipated. This was not planned, organized, or foreseen.
four shows. Is it four? This is 4 shows in a row now, right?
It's gotten to the point where I
Atlanta.
have no way to remember at this point. So yes, it's been at least like a month straight.
Yeah, I think you and me. This is our second time in the last 4 weeks that we've done a 2-man.
Started it, yeah.
Yeah, and then last week I did one with Patrick, and then the week before that, yeah, you did one with Patrick, and you said, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so we've hit the month. Beautiful. All right, well, that's that for that about that. Now it's talking about the time of the season, the basketball season.
I got so many questions for you.
A very small GIF of Matthew Dellavedova throwing what was the blade called again?
The spear. Oh, Destructo Disc.
Yeah, Destructo Disc at Steph Curry, is perfect sell as well.
Perfect sell.
It's perfect sell and Steph Curry. So anyway, housekeeping before we get into the stuff that you're probably wanting to ask about. All NBAs are a thing. They've been announced. I didn't really dig deep enough into seeing who got screwed the hardest over All NBA. I think this is the first time without LeBron all NBA since he's been a part of All NBA. I think that's probably most notable. I'm pretty sure that's right. I think he qualified. So I think he just did not make All NBA for the season for the first time in his career, which is, sounds sad for most people. At this point, it's just like, God damn, it's crazy it took this long. I think he'd been riding the third team wave for like a couple seasons now. And finally. But with some good people on here, we start with the third team. We have Jamal Murray, we have Tyrese Maxey, we have Chet Holmgren, Jalen Duren, and Jalen Johnson. Most importantly, Jalen Johnson there. I mean, if LeBron's gonna get left off for anyone, you might as well make it one of the kids who kind of feels like he comes from the lineage of the LeBron player. So that's your third team. Big time for Jamal Murray this season. He stayed healthy, and now his accolades and his basketball reference page doesn't look as weird as it does for someone who was the second best player on a championship team. All NBA second team. You have some old guys here. You have Kevin Durant. You have Kawhi Leonard. You have some middle-aged guys: Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, and then one that it's unfortunate because you really feel like this is the sixth guy, really. Like this, if there's a first team, this is the sixth man, Jalen Brunson. It feels tough that Jalen Brunson's not a first team All-NBA this season. But I understand where the voters came from. Like I said, he's probably 6. Kawhi also may be close to that because Kawhi had an incredible season, even though it ended so hilariously bad. But when you look at the number one team or the number one guys, it's pretty good. So obviously Victor Wembanyama. Patrick's not here to be able to gloat, but that's a pretty important player, and we probably should get used to seeing him in the first team All-NBA. Nikola Jokic, a guy who hopefully will still continue to be All-NBA level player for as long as he can. Cade Cunningham, part owner of the Texas Rangers. Incredible season. Did amazing things. Didn't get to properly bury the Pistons last week, so I'll just play this again.
The Pistons not going to matter on Judgment Day.
But ultimately, better luck next year for the Pistons. Luka Doncic, who probably would have won MVP in most other years fairly easily, was like 30 points a game at some point. I think finished the season over 30 points a game. And yet Nikola and SGA finished higher in voting at MVP for him. And then, of course, SGA, the MVP of the season, which I know y'all covered last week. And I think y'all did fine. I mean, SGA is a very talented player, but I definitely understand the free throw frustration when it comes to dealing with the old boy. Head coaching, Joey Maz is now the head coach of the year, which sometimes people look at as a potential negative. There has been some unfortunate history with NBA Coach of the Year, but at this point, I think that streak has gotten better. Either way, Joey Maz delivered a very funny speech to ESPN, or NBC, I think, was who was doing this one, where he just looked like he could not be bothered, was not trying to do that Zoom call to accept that award. Given it, the dude's disdain is absolutely hilarious. It's a little try-hardy, but it's also pretty kind of funny. And then all defensive teams, Wemby won, unanimous defensive player of the year. So obviously he's on the first team. Rudy's also there. Asar Thompson, Derek White, and Chet Holmgren, arch nemesis of Victor Wembanyama. Second team, OG Anunoby, Bam Adebayo, which honestly pretty cool that Bam Adebayo is an all defensive player the same year he breaks the points in a game record, or the modern record. Scotty Barnes, Kaysen Wallace, and Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels I thought was an interesting second teamer. I guess maybe his stats didn't look great all along, but he's kind of like a freak when it comes to steal numbers. And then Kaysen Wallace, I think that's where we have to park the car just a minute, because we've got the Dallas audience in mind. The wounds of Luka Doncic's trade are slowly healing. Slowly. Yeah. There is one little issue with this. Kaysen Wallace now, second team all defensive player, potentially a replacement for whoever they're going to decide to let go, most likely Lou Dort, at least this season, and really a pivotal part of the future of the Oklahoma City Thunder, was potentially a Dallas Maverick. But that pick was traded to acquire Derek Lively in the same draft. So realistically, the Mavericks just had their eyes on a different target, which makes sense for Luka Doncic, and the player was really good for a little bit. And injuries and mismanagement of injuries have been a massive setback. He also had the loss of his mother, which is not any easier to a young guy in that situation. So it's not super fair to continue to pile on Lively by reminiscing in Kaysen Wallace's early success. But you do feel like if it's the Cooper Flag era that you were thinking about back then, and you can't really do that, man, Kaysen Wallace would have been incredible to have next to Cooper Flag. But it's just a weird one, because you can't play that game, but your mind's going to do it anyway. Congrats for those people. Then we'll go to those who have left us. Only one team to talk about this week. I know you guys were able to bury the Pistons last week. Cavs, they played in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's a thing that happened. They'll always be able to say that they played in the Eastern Conference Finals. First game,
sure did.
Looked like they did more than just play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Looked like they came to win the Eastern Conference Finals. They were steady-handing it to the New York Knicks in game one. And then all of a sudden, when we talk about strategy and X's and O's, you have a series like the one we're going to finish on that has a lot of these back and forth decisions that impact everything as the series unfolds. Then there's some series where everyone kind of gets it right quickly and things happen the way we predicted, and it doesn't get talked about as much, but because it's just not as sexy or interesting. In this case, I think everyone highlighted the Cavs were the worst defense left in basketball of the four teams, obviously. And they had a rotation of players like Sam Merrill, like Dean Wade, and most importantly, like James Harden, that were not going to be the point of attack defender you need to stop Jalen Brunson, especially when he is properly cooking. When the Brunson burner is lit and turned all the way on, you need some specialists out there. And they do have that with the defensive players, but it's big guys. And Mitchell's fine, Probably not also at the all NBA, all defensive elite level. And in game one, we saw Jalen Brunson pretty much by himself. I mean, there were some other plays, especially obviously defensively, hustle stats. But as far as offense goes, Jalen Brunson just kind of put the team on his back for 8 minutes until they had the game and it was done. Ended up winning 115-104. That's the crazy part. They ended up having garbage time in a game they had to come back from. Next 3 games weren't super competitive, and especially the last one. That one pretty much was over by halftime. And I really appreciate teams that can stand up and say, hey, we are the superior team. We are trying to win a championship. I understand that it's excusable to lose 1 or 2 games in a 7-game series. But if you're really, truly trying to win that thing, you better take all those 4-0s you can get and not miss a single opportunity. You know, if you take a loss and you're one of these elite teams trying to win the championship in any series, I don't care how good the opponent, it is a must that you absolutely 100% unequivocally lost the game. Not that you were punting games or choosing strategy or effort wasn't as good this night. No, it can't happen. 16's hard to get, and you need to make sure every single attempt is working towards that 16. You're going to fall short, but you have to try every 16.
Oh, yeah.
And this statistically, this Knicks team is now one of the most dominant we've ever seen in NBA history, which is pretty interesting also because we talked a lot about the Western Conference deciding the champion this year. And a large part of that was because the Knicks underperformed in the regular season, ended up the 3rd team. So they will be, only hosting 3 games in the NBA Finals, regardless of who comes out of the West. But at the same time, I mean, they've gelled together well when it matters. They bolstered the depth of the team in really subtle, simple ways throughout the season. And I think we may have to be super serious about considering them championship material, which is incredible for a whole nother level. I mean, this is a franchise that I think is amongst a group that most people nowadays have just always laughed off the possibility of them ever winning a championship.
Oh yeah.
Even with them being in the title series back as soon as '99 and being really the second, third best team in the East for a lot of the '90s, they hadn't got it done. So very interesting from that point. It also looks like the first United States sitting president will attend an NBA Finals game, which is probably the funniest outcome for all of this, is that the Knicks fans finally get what they want. And New York and the biggest asshole New Yorker in the world is going to take the moment for himself. Oh, I couldn't have it any other way, New York. You got to be yourself through and through. So interesting series. Do you have anything with that series at all?
Couple things, but none of them really serious. First and foremost, though, I gotta say this with on the Cavs side. Because as soon as the series ended, the video that makes its rounds anytime a James Harden team exits the playoffs, if you remember that one analyst who really went in on James Harden. Mavs guy, yeah. Which, by the way, that video will genuinely, I think, age like fine wine forever.
It's true because it's so specific, but there's another video of James Harden that's my favorite. It was back when they were fucking it was back with the Nets when he got fat and everyone thought he was completely useless. He got traded to Philly. And someone turned it into a meme where it was like a joke about eating food all the time, but it was basically someone just used a bunch of 2K footage to make like a rap video out of it. And it's the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen because they also were able to mod James Harden into being fat as absolute shit. And it's just so stupid. And all the lyrics are about eating Popeyes and CC or whatever. It's just a bunch of goofy shit. So anyway, but yes, there's actually many because there's also when he was like just doing a Chinese event for a shoe company.
Daryl Morey?
Yeah, and then he's just like...
Daryl Morey did?
He basically just like releases like an Osama bin Laden style video against his enemies to send to the world.
Oh, dude, that's
James Harden, I don't
man.
care, man. James Harden's a Hall of Famer in my book. He's kept me entertained thoroughly the whole time.
No. Funny guy, man. Listen, the thing that I personally will always remember him for is two things, right? Three. There's three things that I will remember James Harden for. First and foremost, making himself fat on purpose to get traded away from the Houston Rockets, and then within a week of getting traded, just losing all that weight immediately. I'm like, this dude wore a fat suit. He had to have worn a fat suit,
and there does feel like a possibility he wore a fat suit once.
It had to be, and if that ever comes out to be true that he wore a fat suit. First ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care that he will finish his career with no rings, being a huge playoff choker. I don't care. That alone deserves a Hall of Fame first ballot entry. I want him to be the headliner of his Hall of Fame class. You have to take all control away from him, though, because you have to highlight the fat suit, okay? Because everything else, it really doesn't actually matter.
He might actually just also be like, yeah, I think that was my best caper yet.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's one. Right, the other one is that meme that GIF now where he just does this like face and then walks away. That's a classic reaction. Love that. That's number 2 for me. Right, and then I would say number 3 is the video of which he's getting grilled on, because those were very valid complaints about him as a player and whatnot, as a franchise star. But I'm just here to say, Cleveland, you know what he is at this point in his career. I don't know why you thought this was the move to make. You got to the conference finals, so I guess if that was your goal, sure. But like, almost like clockwork, he just shrinks and doesn't do much when the team needs him most. And so it's really fascinating to me how that continues to happen. I know there's got to be like a sports psychology thing behind it, because there's just no way somebody that talented continuously shrinks just like on purpose. Like there's just got to be something mental in his head that keeps him from actually rising to the moment. Now,
I would be cautious a little bit for what Cleveland's invested already. They do sort of have to see it through, because they more or less traded for him because he was like, they were willing to offer him an extension as soon as they traded for him. Otherwise, he would not have gone to Cleveland, most likely. I think that's positive for them, because he'll probably sign at a better number for them. He will play a more realistic role. I think he and Mitchell still needed to figure out how to do the tandem guard thing. I also said 2 other names before him for an intentional reason. I think the way that they were currently structured was more than just Darius Garland. Their wing defenders are kind of meh. They're good 3-point shooters. They're good in theory wing defenders, but they're not good enough, especially if you're going to have old man Harden running point, and if you're going to have a high volume scorer. And then really all of this falls on Evan Mobley. James Harden, even if he is just who he is and you want to write it off as that, which is pretty fair too at this point, Evan Mobley is at the point of his career where he truly does need to prove who he is and what he is. Now, money, I think he's already fine. I think they already got him on the extension. But ultimately, what the Cavs do this offseason probably hinges a lot on what they think the future really is with Mobley. Because at this point, you've seen a lot of different versions of it. And you're talking about a guy who was the number 2 pick. People really liked him enough to even maybe consider him number 1. I think Cade was number 1 that year, so it would have been tough. But, at least had a lot of, respect and admiration of his game. Called him Slim Duncan was the way that people were hyping him up. So I do think for the Cavs, that's the biggest question they need to answer. James Harden you're married to James Harden. When you traded for him, there was never really a place where he was going to walk in free agency. So hopefully you just get him on a number that makes more sense for the team, and you do better with the other money spent, because they're like one of the highest paid rosters in the league, if not the highest, just in the salary. I think when you get to like the tax and how all that's attributed, there's someone higher, but They spent a lot of money on this team.
Yeah, it was just kind of crazy.
And I understand why they did the Darius Garland move,
look at
because at least that allowed them to try to do something this season that could help. But ultimately, I think now they know the answer to or they know which question is truly more important. And it's the Evan Mobley question. The question is, can we get something better for Evan Mobley? Is it Giannis? Is it, I don't think this is their best path, but is it finding a way to sign and trade with the Lakers to bring in LeBron for his final run, whatever it is? I don't know what they're going to think. I mean, there should be other players they're evaluating that could replace Evan Mobley and bring them compensation if they feel like maybe Evan Mobley just needs to shine on his own, and the way they're built around Mitchell doesn't work with that. These are all real decisions the Cavs need to make. I think they've had a very successful season. I'm glad they're not firing Kenny Atkinson. That would be irrational and stupid. But yeah, I mean, in a way, it's probably better that most of this is getting summed up as James Harden sucks content, because it does take a little bit more of the pressure off of the kids who are really, and like I said, Evan Mobley in particular, the ones who need to be looking at the mirror and saying, what do I bring to elite level basketball that wins championships? And is it consistency? What's the issue? Because I have the talent that maybe even surpasses James Harden in his prime if I reach my full potential. So it's just one of those things, yeah. But obviously, Harden did not play well in a lot of these games, and defensively, there was a notable issue for a lot of the season with him there, and really throughout his career. So, best luck to the Cavs, and I'm excited for Knicks fans,
sure. Now,
Timothy Chalamet, and all of those folks. Great for them.
Now, and we'll get to that in here in just a second, and then honorary mention for fourth thing that I will always remember James Harden for, and that's Young Thug saying that man doesn't have internet, because I think that theory or that statement is actually kind of true.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention a couple of those. So that one's probably the fourth one. The fifth one I would say is Ron Artest giving him the old wow. As he like fucking put it. He elbowed the shit out of James Harden. I think it was Harden's third year maybe in the league. It was like Oklahoma's first playoff season, I think, with that team, with that young group of Harden, Katie, and Russ.
I think that would have been Harden's second season then in the league, because he was the last one of that trio to get to join the team.
Yeah, it was 07, 08, 09. Damn, was it?
Yep.
No, it was 03. No, I think it was 06, 08, 09. I think Durant's 06. I think Durant's 06. Yeah, Durant's 06. Now I think about it. And then
I'm gonna look this up.
08. Russ is 08. Because him and Kevin Love came in together. I'm pretty sure I remember that right. And then
yeah, you're right. No, it's 07. It's 07, 08, 09.
It is 07. Durant is 07. Okay.
Yep. Durant is 07.
06 is Andrea Bargnani, I think.
Andrea Bargnani. Oh, what a pull right there.
Or was it Bogut?
No, Bogut was 2005. 2005 was Andrew Bogut. There you go. So
it was Bogut and Bargnani back in the back. Riveting
graphs. Now let's pivot now to the less serious part of the Knicks equation on this. Okay, because there's a couple things, right? Mamdanistan has never been hotter. Okay, that city is on fire. It's electric. How fitting that Mamdani takes over and everything.
His own soccer team to win a championship. They're not part of New York, but I mean, this is crazy.
No, this man is bringing immense amount of positive karma to the city. Now, the other aspect, because here's the thing that's working in the Knicks' favor from the non-basketball side, the more superstitious side of the thing, if you will. So, good karma, right? If that's your thing, all right. Mamdani's brought good karma to the city. He's out here doing things for the city. He's showing that politicians can actually do positive things for their cities or their constituents relatively easily if they so choose. Now, next thing that we're talking about here, let's go to the more superstitious side. Let's talk about the more comedic side of this. So ESPN has been regularly partnered with WWE now because of a contract they signed. If you have been following the Knicks' journey in the playoffs, there is a WWE wrestler that just looks like some cartoonish character, goes by the name of Dan Allen. Real corny, kind of a concept where he like curses people. He does like curse on you, huh? All right, that's his whole thing.
Mhm.
Stephen A. Smith insults this guy on television, puts a curse on the Knicks, and they immediately lose 2 straight to the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs. The coincidence, or the timing of which, can only be no more than coincidental, but somebody pays this man real money on, what is that? Cameo, is that what it's called? That celebrity thing where like, okay, pays this man real money to quote unquote lift the curse off the Knicks. The Knicks have not lost a game since this has happened, mind you. Since I don't think they've dropped a game, or maybe they did drop one game. Either way,
capitalism is hilarious, bro. Just continue.
Yes. So since then, Danhausen has now officially lifted whatever curse has been placed on this franchise prior to him putting a curse on this franchise. Matter of fact, he even said he put a curse on the Cleveland Cavaliers and they got swept. Now, coincidence? I think not. Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. What? Hold on. I'm gonna big screen this real quick. How much is that? Is there a price on that?
Yeah, let me move it somewhere.
With not curse inscription. Capitalism moves fast, man. I'll tell you what.
I don't know. It doesn't even have a price on it, does it?
I can promise.
It was auctioned.
Oh,
It was
auction.
I guess it was a once in a lifetime thing, or only so many auctions.
Yeah, no, the design on that is horrific. That main plate, disgusting.
Yeah.
Not cursed. Danhausen, not cursed. Look at that. So I will be interested to see Bethke. Now, this may not be actual, genuine, analytic. What's how do the Knicks match up against the Spurs or the Thunder? No, what I'm interested in is this: should this weird pro wrestler fella actually have some supernatural power of cursing people? Should that work, right? Then you have to go up against the black magic of the Thunder, right? Because that is black magic. And then the super nuns of the San Antonio Spurs. It would be very interesting to see which supernatural entity, if you will, prevails in the NBA Finals. And that is my super unserious take about the Knicks going forward.
Well, then it begs the question, does this mean there is a lack, there is a spiritual void in Cleveland that they have to fill? It's less about
100%.
James Harden and Evan Mobley, but they need a spiritual void filled.
That entire state needs one, brother. Yes.
All right. Well, now we've cracked it. There you go. Colby Altman. We've just fixed the team for you. We'll move into the final series. The one still ongoing. The one that, honestly, man, I would love to have the privilege to watch Saturday night. San Antonio, Oklahoma City. We are currently sitting at 3-2. I believe it was just 1-0 when you guys talked about it. I believe you guys were recording during game 2.
Yes.
Either way, we start out with the Spurs, and we start out with Victor Wembanyama having an incredible moment, playing the most minutes he'd ever played, dominating the Spurs, or dominating for a while with the team. So it was a very talented performance to start off with. All right, we come back the next night, or 2 nights, whatever. Oklahoma City holds serve like they really need to at that point. I believe that one is Alex Caruso going nutty on game 2. And then game 3, I think might have been Alex Caruso going nutty, and game 2, Jared McCain, whichever one. All right, now the formula is there. SGA just needs to get above 25 points. One other player needs to do decently in the 20-ish range. And then the rest of the role players, if they all get close, if they all get about 10, because they will, like there's Kendrick Williams barely played last night and got just the quietest 12 points you'll ever hear in your life. Maybe it was less, but fill up the stat sheet quickly in small minutes, and that's rare in playoff games. So we're looking at home court being returned now that the Spurs have lost a game to the Thunder at home. So now it's their burden to hold serve themselves, and they do quite well. 103 to 82, wall to wall beat down. All the Thunder bench looks very human for the first time in a while. Notable. Great. 2-2 series. Let's go back to Oklahoma City. All right. Now we see a different version of the Thunder. We see everything that's supposed to be happening. We don't have J-Dub, by the way. J-Dub hasn't played since, I think, game 1 of this series, maybe game 2. So it's really heavy burden on SGA. It's really heavy burden on needing whoever the next guy is to step up. Because, look, Chet Holmgren is an all-NBA player, an all-defensive team player. But I think it's fair to say that he really got those accolades, at least that all-NBA third team, more because he is such an elite defender and rebounder, and the way that he helps them do what they do is important. He's not necessarily the guy who's supposed to get 20 a night. Eventually, maybe that's what they'll task him for. But at this point in his career, that's still really not what's being asked of him in Oklahoma City. Now, that might change as soon as next season, but right now that's not the case. So he's still doing his job, but you need other guys to make shots. You need other guys to score. You need other guys to facilitate, take the pressure off of SGA. All of that comes to fruition. Everyone looks good again. Now we're up 3-2, going back to San Antonio. I think what we know about this series so far is that when holding serve, the team is probably going to rise to the occasion. There's a lot of motivation to holding serve and survival instincts to this. Makes me feel pretty good about picking the Spurs tomorrow night. The biggest factor, I think, for the Spurs at this point is Victor Wembanyama is not only is there a bunch of young kids, right? The young kids matter. The De'Aaron Fox trying to figure out his role matters. Them being too early in a lot of ways, like even with the veterans on the team, like you didn't expect Harrison Barnes to need to be relevant right now, did you? You know, all of those things are very ahead of schedule, I think. But even if they weren't, the most important thing is that Victor Wembanyama is still very above or unexpected. Like this is happening too quickly here. Or not too quickly, but it's happening very quickly. And the most important reason for that is game 1, he sits a career high mark for how much he's played, right?
Yeah.
That's a big thing to be hurtling across in the Western Conference Finals against a team that compares as dominantly as almost any in NBA history. It's just a lot to ask of him. Because in 2K, you're right, you could probably sweep the Thunder with Wemby. Probably sweep everybody with Wemby in that game because the tire doesn't matter as much. But in the reality, and especially with his body built like it is, like it's just a different thing. And really with him, there is just not a lot of prior history here. Like you look at it from a medical standpoint, there's so much to discover and uncover about the way his particular body works at that size with the way he's developed it. So I really don't think wouldn't be too surprising if it gets wrapped up tomorrow night. And if it did, I think the culprit would probably be the fact that Vic is just kind of gassed at this point. And I know that might bum him out and might bum Spurs fans out, but I think that's good. I think this is where they're supposed to be, more or less. Maybe they are ahead of schedule, but this definitely puts them in the driver's seat for next season. You know, it gives them an off season to make real decisions, to really plan this thing out more. And it also gives Victor and his team an off season to truly understand how do you get 45 minutes a night from this guy if you need them. Because that's what LeBron's had to do. It's what Jordan's had. I mean, they eventually, if you're
didn't Timmy have to do that too?
Everybody. If you're big dog, big shit, and it's going to come down to a point in the season where you're going to be playing 45 minutes a night if you want to win a championship.
For sure. Yeah. Now, I do have a question then. Well, one of the questions might actually be related to that then. So would you say because, he might actually be getting, worn out here, his stamina is, taking a big hit, playing minutes he's never played before. Is that why he is struggling in some games to hit double-digit rebounds, considering he's the tallest guy on the floor, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it bad positioning? Is it lack of strength? Or is he just tired and that's why he's getting muscled out of some of these rebounds? Because realistically, for a star 7-footer who can play outside, but usually kind of plays inside to mid, there shouldn't be a reason why he's not getting 10 boards a night. And I look at it in this past game, he only had 6 boards. I mean, he had an awful game. And I'm just looking like 6 boards. You're 7'5", dude.
It impacts your dribble. It impacts your shot. It's just it's a worn down effect to where he's probably feeling his bones more than he usually feels them. You know, there's tenderness in your ligaments that you're feeling that just you would like to have more well rested. And usually when you've reached that peak age that we kind of talk about a lot in sports, but definitely in basketball where you're like 26, 27, that's the key moment that you need to be able to capitalize on your body. And what, Vic's 21, you know? So it's just his body is quite literally developing what it needs to actually be able to handle this regularly. And, look, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, even some of these other role players like Alex Caruso, it's not an easy team to rebound against. Like, the Thunder have a lot of guys who make it their personal task to go and rebound. And then even with your own team, with the Spurs, like, you do have other talented players capable of piling up the rebounds. So sometimes it's as simple as other guys picking up that slack. So, yeah, not worried about Vic at all. And I still think he's got enough in the tank to probably pull out another 45-minute night if he needs to get the Spurs to Game 7 in Oklahoma City. But as a result, it probably means Game 7, he's going to be really gassing it to try to get to the finish line. And that's probably when it's going to be just not enough against a team like Oklahoma City, where it's just constant and it's coming at you from a million miles an hour. And it's just like nothing personal to Aaron Fox, nothing personal to any of those guys on that roster, but they are all learning how to play a very unique style too, because it's not like a lot of teams have had a Wembanyama. You're like, a lot of these coaches are probably going back to old Kareem games because it's the only thing they could find comparable, where you have someone that big that you may be allowed to play like more guards than you usually would. So it's just an interesting team, and I think that they've done an incredible job. There's so much to celebrate with San Antonio that I really wouldn't be too down about it. But it sucks in the moment because obviously you don't want to miss any opportunities. I know that I was very positive about the Mavericks losing a championship, and obviously that's taken a crazy turn for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Those things are not likely to happen usually. That's definitely more of a one-off. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this game is tomorrow. Both because I think for the Thunder, there is a little bit of a statement to make. We have been obsessed with them. They are really good. They are still likely to win the championship, most likely to win the championship. But the Knicks have captivated. The Knicks have really captivated hearts and minds here. And I do wonder quite strongly about what the future might hold there. And is this team, especially if Jalen Williams is not able to play, like, are they able to actually be the champion that they felt like they were always going to be this season? There's plenty of times in NBA history where there's been sort of a clear champion moving forward. Oh, no, they're going to repeat. Obviously, they're going to repeat. And then they get to the point and something happens. We have the Dellavedova gift from when it was most famously done in Cleveland. But there can be just injuries, right? There can be injuries to players that can just simply take the champion away. And even if the player is not completely out of a series, it could be an injury significant enough to sway the series no matter what. I think that's actually how the first Cavs-Warriors series went, when you lost Kevin Love to start the playoffs and then eventually Kyrie Irving in championships. I always thought was funny that maybe reality was that Cleveland was supposed to win 15 when they were the new super team, and that the reign of terror was supposed to start in 16 when the Warriors would have set the record, broken the Bulls record and won the championship, right? I always think that's a funny bit of history, how those two teams had to swap the fates there. But yeah, I mean, it's still been an incredible playoff, at least for this particular series, and for both of these teams really through most of their run, because like even the Lakers and the Suns, they weren't bad teams. They just were running up against a buzzsaw. They were, one of them was obviously very hurt. The other one was rebuilding itself, didn't help, but just a fucking buzzsaw in Oklahoma City. And then I think you've watched the Spurs slowly but surely gain more confidence and trust in what they are, and that we are truly in the Victor Wembanyama era. It wasn't particularly easy at times, for sure, but been a good run, and I mean, not writing them off completely yet. We'll do the obituary next week if we have to, but for now, I think that's where we leave them. Any other final thoughts or questions about the Basketball Association at this moment?
No, actually, I do have some final thoughts, right? And I think this is a thought that many fans will obviously feel, and it's something that I don't know will ever truly be fixed. But all I can do is express my discontent with how officiating goes in the modern NBA era, especially when it comes to superstars such as SGA. There's some things that I just feel way too egregious, and I get that superstars get the calls, man. They really do. Sometimes it feels, especially in these moments where it's like super isolated, like the Western Conference Finals, where there are no other games to take your attention. Sometimes it feels like it's excessive, and maybe it is. Maybe there are numbers out there that show that it is excessive in one star's favor versus another. However, I just wish that there could be some sort of true, just objective officiating where, superstars, regular players, it's all the same. Did you commit a foul by the letter of the law? Yes or no? Cool. Be consistent. Or, you get punished as a ref. But this is across all sports, really. Officiating is not a perfect thing. It can never be a perfect thing. Because there's always going to be that could be ticky-tacky, or, technically, that is a foul, but, you shouldn't call it there because of the implications and whatnot. And so to all my fellow, people out there who get frustrated by guys like SGA in basketball or any other athlete in other sports, I know it's frustrating, but this is just the world that we got to live in. And hopefully, it gets addressed somehow. Like, eventually, the league hears your voices, and they're like, all right, fine, you've twisted our arm long enough. We'll address this somehow, some way. But, I'm not going to get my hopes up there.
It's one of two things, where it's an entertainment product, and there are so many decisions made based off of the desire for the entertainment product to be the best, and you really don't change that until there's enough bitching. And even when you do, it's not very consistent. So yeah, I agree. I hate it. It's not awesome. I think that there's also probably this annoying part of it where it's like this unwritten language. It's almost like how baseball guys have gate kept baseball a lot, where they're like, you just don't understand this. You don't really understand the nuances of the strike zone. Like it's a rectangle, but like in your mind, like you got to think about how the game works. And so it's kind of like that for basketball, where it's like, no, you just don't understand. It's a two-step. It's he didn't get the full ball around. There's a lot of these. Because it is. I mean, once you watch it, as long as I've watched it, you do actually understand why the refs call the way they call it, for the most part. But it's not necessarily decisions I agree with. That's the thing. That's the issue, is that I do think I follow their logic. I just don't like their logic.
Yes, like I don't agree. I understand why you did it, I mean, I agree with why you did it. And so yeah, but it is very funny that Scott Foster, aka the Extender, is in for game.
Extender is active.
So I think the funniest thing I saw about that is he doesn't know how to call this game since Chris Paul is not on either team.
Yeah, no, I think even Chris had a joke about it at some point this season, or maybe in this game. Actually, the game
in the
one,
series.
I think in the series we talked about it.
Yeah, I think he showed he like shared a tweet on his Instagram story about that. I'm like, yeah, that's
Chris Paul's petty as hell and mad now. I feel like he's gonna figure out how to get into a front office of a team and just start wreaking havoc on people intentionally. He might even tank a franchise doing it, but he just wants to go in and get retribution on his enemies, like someone who might attend the NBA Finals.
Maybe, but we'll see how that plays out as well when we get to that game.
We will probably have had at least one finals game played by next Wednesday. No. Spurs Saturday. Oh yeah, that probably do game one Monday or Tuesday, the 1st or the 2nd, of June.
If Spurs go to 7, or is it under the assumption that they get?
If that was to go 7, the game 7 is Saturday night,
and their turnaround would be June 1st. That's crazy. That's wow.
Yeah, honestly, because they want to, but with the finals, they do end up trying to stretch the finals out like 2 weeks. So like the game 1 might be a quick turnaround, but there'll probably be 3 days before the game 2, even if it's in the same damn city.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
So we will see. We will talk about it. For now, we bid adieu, and I believe we now have we'll get him out.
I know none of y'all gonna never drink, leg. I know none of y'all gonna never use no drugs and everything. All y'all gonna go to Bible study. I realize that, but still get you a fall guy. Okay?